Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Black and White Life Coaching. I'm Brad Richard. It is Sunday afternoon, and as promised, we are back with another video. This is going to be a little bit longer video, so I encourage you to stay to the very end, watch the whole video, okay? Unless you have to swipe away, but I encourage you to stay for the entire video. Today, we are going to be talking about your hero's journey. And some of you may, know what the hero's journey is. Excuse me. And I've got a beverage I'm going to be drinking because my throat's probably going to dry out multiple times because, like I said, it's going to be a little longer video. So if I take a sip, take a drink, bear with me. But I'll be doing that throughout the video. So we're talking about your hero's journey. If you know what that is, you will probably understand it more so. If not, that's okay. I'm going to explain it, and I'm going to go through the hero's journey with you. I'm going to put the hero's journey chart, the outline, the guide up on the screen so you can see it, okay? And we're going to talk about your hero's journey. And it is connected to my previous video, which is your life story, writing or rewriting your life story and redoing it and changing the parts that you don't necessarily like that much and making it better. Okay. So these two videos go together, rewriting your life story and your hero's journey and becoming the hero of your own story. Okay. So I would encourage you to check out the previous video, your life story, and I'm going to pop it up somewhere on the screen here. It's going to pop up, and if you haven't watched that video, go back, look at it, watch that video, and it'll help connect today's video with your life story video. Okay, so it's really important that you watch both videos today and that one. And like I said, it'll be on the screen. So just tap on it, favorite, mark it as a favorite, mark it, watch for later. But I would encourage you to definitely, or go back to the playlist and select life story, that video. It will help you in today's video, your hero's journey. Okay. And so I want to give you a heads up on that. Okay. So definitely would encourage you to do that. Now, as far as starting off, like I said, I'm going to be putting up the graphic, the guide, the chart of your hero's journey. And I will put that up now, and then you can see it and you can follow along, because I don't want to just explain to you what the hero's journey is. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube going through exactly what the hero's journey is and how to use it. And basically, the hero's journey is a template to write a script, a book, a movie, a screenplay, and the hero's journey, which you're seeing now. You're seeing the template, you're seeing the chart up there. It basically is an outline of the hero or the heroine in a movie or script or book, okay, or screenplay. If you think about, there's been a lot of famous movies, for example, Star Wars, okay? There's a hero, Luke Skywalker, in Star Wars, and you can follow his journey in the movie with each and every step in the hero's journey, all 12 steps. You can follow him through his journey in the movie because the movie was written and based on the hero's journey, and the things that happened to Luke and the things he did is based on George Lucas, his understanding of the hero's journey, and this chart and this guide that you're looking at on the screen. So that's one example. There are many, many other movies that have the hero's journey woven into it. Another one that comes to mind is the Karate Kid with Daniel LaRusso, who starts off as a ordinary person and does become a hero in the movie. And so that's another example. Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Once again, if you follow the storyline of The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy, it fits right into, it connects with the hero's journey, the 12 steps that we're going to go through today. So that's another movie example. And The Matrix is another one. City Slickers is another one. There are pretty much any movie you can think of that you've watched and that you like, basically will follow suit, okay, or follow the pattern or the steps of the hero's journey from start to the return and the finish, okay, the grand finale. I want to let you know that now this is going to be a little bit longer video because the topic is a little bit more complicated or lengthy. So it is. This is non-scripted. So if there are hiccups, maybe literally, cut me some slack because it's not scripted and it is a one-take video. There's no cuts. There's not a lot of editing in my videos. Okay, so welcome to Black and White Life Coaching. Welcome to your hero's journey. And what I'm going to do a little differently so that maybe you can relate to the hero's journey a little better is I'm going to go through quickly as I can. I'm going to go through my hero's journey with you and kind of elaborate or embellish on the 12 steps of the hero's journey. And I'm going to share some personal information and be authentic with you. And I'm going to share my hero's journey and my 12-step process that I went through on my journey. And I'm hoping that hearing my experiences and how I connected my life to these 12 steps, okay, these 12 sections of the hero's journey, I'm hoping that you can relate to it better, you can understand it better. And then when it comes time for you to start your hero's journey, you'll have kind of a place to start. Okay, so let's get started with your hero's journey. And by doing so, I'm going to share my journey, into becoming a hero of my own life. Okay, in my life, maybe not a hero to anyone else, but trust me, I'm a hero to myself and my little Brad. Okay, and to my dad. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with an ordinary life. We all start off in the ordinary life. Okay, step number one, step number two. However, it shows there on the graphic that you're seeing, the chart that you're seeing. But for me, my ordinary life before starting my hero's journey was I was a adult male. I was codependent. Actually, I was very codependent of family, siblings, parents, friends, relationships, and of wives, and in marriages. Okay, I was very codependent, and I in my ordinary life, okay, I was very codependent for a very long time, and I also came from an abusive background, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse in my ordinary life. Okay. That's where I started my ordinary life, started my journey. And so let's move on to the next step, call to adventure. And you can follow along with me on the graphic, on the chart that you're seeing. Okay. My call to adventure was I wanted to be an Elvis Presley impersonator. I wanted to be a singing star, a music star. That was my call to adventure. Along with, I really wanted to be married. And I wanted to join the military and be in the Army, because for me, going back to my ordinary life, being married and being in the military It was my way of finding or strengthening my manhood and my masculinity. So I chose marriage and the Army to do that. And it didn't work. Okay, it did not work, and I really did not succeed in that choice. Okay, but that was my call to adventure. Was marriage was an adventure. My first marriage was definitely an adventure, and being in the Army was also a call to the adventure. Okay, but also I pursued being in the music business for many years, and for me that was the ultimate adventure. But I wasn't at a place to make that happen, from a commitment level, from a independent thinker level. So I moved on to the third step, which is refusal of the call. And refusal of the call for me is I couldn't decide on anything. I couldn't make any decisions. I made a lot of wrong choices, and I was very weak at that time. Very weak in my first marriage. I was pretty weak in the military, and I refused to make the right decisions or make any decisions. And I did refuse the call. I refused the call to adventure because I was very fearful, and very codependent still. Okay, and I also never pursued or had any success in the music industry as well because I refused that call to adventure. Okay, let's move on to the next step. Okay, meeting the mentor. Now, this will surprise you. When I met my mentor, my mentor was my second wife. After leaving my son from my first marriage and traveling all the way across the country with my second wife, she became my mentor. She was very metaphysically inclined. She claimed to be very enlightened, which in some areas she was. And meeting my mentor actually happened when I married my second wife. And I'm looking down, I have some notes. But she encouraged me to make some changes, to grow up, to be an adult, to be a man. And she pointed out some things that she saw that was wrong with my thinking and my life. And she started out as a savior to save me, but then she turned into a mentor and a coach. Okay, like I am today. She did coach me to a place where she eventually kind of gave up and ran out of patience with me and stopped the mentoring. But she did bring me to a lot of different places that were good for me, and at least she started to help me look at myself. Okay, so that was my mentor. That was meeting my mentor. Was my second relationship, and she did encourage me to, in her own way, and I didn't receive it very well, but she encouraged me to find my little Brad. Okay, and it was very superficial, and she also thought that my issues or my roadblocks had to do all with my family, mom, dad, siblings, and she encouraged, which was a bad thing, I know now, she encouraged me to disconnect from my family, to disassociate myself from my family, because she thought that my problems came from them or it was their fault or their responsibility, and to grow as a man and as a husband, she believed it was best that I disassociated myself from them. Come to find out later, that was not a good suggestion. Okay, so that's my mentor, second marriage, and then we enter into crossing the threshold. Okay, crossing the threshold For me, that meant my initial commitment to change. Okay. After everything that my mentor slash wife tried to teach me and tried to get me to do. Okay. For me, crossing the threshold started off with my father passing away. And when he died a very lonely man, a very sad man, and he left behind un so much business that was not taken care of. Okay. He left with a lot of guilt and a lot of pain. And that was, for me, that was my moment of starting to cross the threshold of change, because I vowed to myself I did not want to end up like my father, and I did not want to die the way he died. And so that was my beginning. Okay. I started to grow up slowly. And I found a song by the Pretenders, I'll Stand By You. And I started listening to that song, and I started playing that song. And if you haven't heard it, I encourage you to YouTube it and listen to the song on YouTube by the Pretenders, I'll Stand By You. And that was a song filled with encouragement and strength and acknowledgement. And I listened to the song over and over and over again. And I started conveying a positive message to my little Brad and to myself and to my father, that I would stand by them, stand by myself, and I would start taking care of myself and being the grown up. So that was when my little me started to show up, is when I discovered that song. Okay. The next section in the hero's journey is test, allies, and enemies. The test that I had in my second marriage, it was a marriage of 22 years. And the last 10 years, it was a non-physical relationship. So the last 10 years of 22, we were cohabitating, we were living in the same house, but we had absolutely no relationship. We were roommates, okay, for 10 years. And that was my test. That was my test. The allies came into play at that point in my life on the internet. I seeked out people that would support me, would love and care about me, understand me, and they were my allies. And I found them outside of my sphere of influence, and my allies were found on the internet. Now, my enemies were also found on the internet. And the enemies that I found during this time was a porn addiction, was a pornography addiction. And I went off into dark places with a porn addiction. It filled me, or it filled the void that was present with a marriage that was over but not. And I was not receiving any love, affection, interest. And so for me, the porn addiction did, substitute those things in that rough 10 years, the last 10 years of my second marriage. So that was my enemy. Okay, that was my enemy. And I can tell you I did get out of that. But that is test, allies, and enemies. Then we moved into approach of the innermost cave. Now, this is the darkest place. This is the start of looking at the serious things that I really needed to look at. And in that time frame, the approach of the innermost cave, I reverted back to music, because for a long time I let music disappear out of my life, and I reverted back to just completely, filling myself up with all of my music, all of my favorite music. I taught myself how to play guitar and I did some karaoke, and I did some singing, and I did some recording, and I really threw myself back into music because number one, I loved it, and number two, little Brad still had that dream of being a star and being an Elvis impersonator. So now you ask, approaching the inner cave, why was that? Why was that? Why was that dark, or why was that that starting to prepare for major changes? Is because that music gave me the strength to do the things that I'm about to do. Okay, um, like I told you in the beginning, my first marriage, when that marriage ended, I left my oldest son and left the state he was in, left him with his mother, and I moved out of the state and I moved all the way across the country. And we weren't connected in any way. We weren't communicating, and I literally just walked out of his life. Okay. And at this point, as I'm preparing for major changes and I'm throwing myself into music, okay, I'm still in this 10-year test, the last 10 years of marriage too. I have no relationship. I just have a roommate. And that's my wife, but she's just a roommate. Okay. So the beginning for me, when it came to preparing for what was about to happen, is I made a commitment. And this was the first time really in my life that I really made a serious decision, a hard decision, a complicated decision, a painful decision. And that decision was that while I was in a broken relationship, I still had my second son, my younger son, with my second wife. And I made the commitment to myself and to him, which he didn't really understand. I made the commitment to stay in that bad relationship. And that was maybe 2 or 3 years into that 10-year time frame. Okay. And I made a commitment to stay in that bad relationship for those 10 years until my youngest son became 19 and he became an adult and he was on his own. And I would hope, I was hoping that he would be an adult and understand the decisions that I made or that I was about to make. Okay. But I made a commitment to stay in that bad relationship for his sake because I had already left one son. And the biggest, most difficult decision up to this point in my life was making the decision to stay in a horrific relationship, at least until he became an adult. And therefore, my commitment would be fulfilled if I didn't abandon him like I did my first son. So that was the beginning of entering into the innermost cave. And that was a very difficult decision to do so. I found a song by Elvis called My Boy. And if you get a chance, like I said, YouTube that as well. Go to YouTube, type in Elvis, My Boy, listen to the lyrics of that song. And that song was written, it felt like, for my specific situation. And that song played a intricate part and gave me the strength to stay in that bad relationship and stay there for my son and not abandon another child of mine. And if you listen to the lyrics of My Boy, you'll understand where I was at. Okay. And that song kept me going until I reached that 10th year. And my youngest son did turn 19. And so that really, really was important. That song was really important. So check it out. And then it'll help you understand. Moving to the next step, ordeal, death, and rebirth. Okay, here's the big one for me. The ordeal, death, and rebirth was, as I said, I was spending a lot of time online. My youngest son had reached 19. He had become an adult. The commitment that I made 7-8 years earlier had been fulfilled. It had been honored, okay? And so I was online with my allies on the internet, and I met my current wife, my third wife. We met online. We found out that we were from the same state, the same city, and we even went to the same schools. And we didn't really know each other existed until that moment. And so we met online, and I felt accepted by her. She was younger than me. My previous two wives were older than me. They were mother figures to me. And my third wife was younger than me. And it gave me an opportunity possibly to become a man and to really have a more balanced, healthy relationship. So we started talking while I was still married, and we got closer and closer, and we started to care about each other, and we fell in love online, basically. And that led to me leaving the marriage temporarily, and letting my second wife know that I thought that what I really wanted was a divorce, and that I needed to leave. And so that happened. That happened. Now I did feel a lot of abandonment. When I returned home, I left for a few days and came back. When I returned home, her and my youngest son had left, and they took everything with them. And they left me with a house full of furniture and a bunch of stuff. And boy, the abandonment issues poured out of me, because it's like, what have I done? I asked for a divorce. They left, and they left me with a dog and a house full of stuff and no job, no income. And now I'm by myself, and I got what I asked for. Well, as I told you, I met my current wife at that time. And so what I did in Ordeal's Death and Rebirth, the ending of that marriage was, in essence, a death. The ordeal was the abandonment and the fear and anxiety I felt, because now I was alone. And now I got what I asked for. But the rebirth was me getting rid of everything in that house, selling everything that was left over, and taking my dog and my truck and a small U-Haul and moving to Texas, where my current wife was living at the time. And so I left with a few belongings and a little bit of money, and I moved to Texas to meet for the first time my new wife, my current wife. Okay. That was my ordeal. That was my death and rebirth. Okay. Moving on, and I'll pick up the pace here. Moving on to the reward section. For me, I did receive just an amazing reward. I met an amazing woman, and I began a healthy relationship where she allowed me to be the head of the household. She allowed me to be the man. She didn't mother me. She didn't condemn me, and she didn't criticize me. And she just let me be me. And she actually expected me to kind of be in charge. Okay. She wanted to be taken care of by a man. But she was in no way, she wasn't an aggressive person. She was a loving, caring person. And so I started my reward with that healthy relationship, with that healthy marriage. Okay. Now, some demons from the past came back, because the first 6 or 9 months that we were together, I had unimaginable jealousy. I had unhealthy jealousy. Keep in mind, my first wife cheated on me, and my second wife condemned me, ridiculed me, and controlled me in multiple ways. And and I was starting all over again for a third time. So my insecurities were still present. My jealousy and my irrational thinking was still part of my life, and I pretty much kind of stalked my current wife. I stalked her. I watched everything she did. I looked at her text messages. I drove by her workplace to make sure she was there, and all of the things you can imagine that a super jealous person would do. Okay. After 6 to 9 months of that negative behavior, I finally came to the realization that she was real. This was an actual healthy relationship. It was time for us to get married. Now we weren't married at this point, but it was time for us to get married. And when we got married and she accepted me with all of my backstory, the jealousy did go away. That did go away. And we did a lot of great things together. And we started off as realtors, as a husband and wife working team. And the self-esteem started to build. And we started living a normal life as a married couple. And I was given a message. It was a subconscious message at this time. And it was 3 words that popped into my head when I woke up one morning. And those words were man at 50. Man at 50 were the 3 words that popped into my head. Didn't know what that meant. But, surprise, I was 50 years of age when that happened. And that was the beginning of the book that I would write, Man at 50, A Journey of Crisis, Revelation, and Survival. And that's my autobiography. And it all started with those 3 words that popped into my head, and that led to me writing my first book. Okay. So moving on to the road back. After writing my book and understanding that I was becoming a man, becoming a husband, becoming a stepfather, and that I was starting to acknowledge, take care of, and love little Brad, and take care of him and protect him and take charge at this point, it was time for the next step in the hero's journey, the road back. Okay, I got my reward, now the road back. Now for me, the road back was going back to my family reunion, my sibling family reunion. Now, they were expecting a codependent baby of the family, brat, to come to the reunion. Someone that always needed direction, always needed help. And what they saw upon my arrival at the family reunion was very different. They saw a strong man. They saw a man that could pay his own way, pay for his room, pay for his airline tickets. And they saw a grown-up. And I showed up at the family reunion as a man at 50. And they didn't know what to think, because it wasn't the little Brad that they expected to show up to the reunion. And that was my road back, okay? Me and my little me went back to that reunion, and we kind of set things straight and showed them that I was no longer codependent, and that I was no longer the baby of the family, and I didn't need their protection any longer. At that moment, I was doing pretty good. Okay. And little Brad was pretty happy. All right. So that was my road back. And that was a pretty pivotal moment. And then we come to the resurrection. Okay. The resurrection, for me, that was actually acting out 100% commitment to Brad and little Brad. Okay. That was a resurrection, because I was resurrected as a man, and I was responsible for my life. my wife, my new family, and I was responsible for little Brad, okay, and responsible for me, okay. So it was a big resurrection, okay, turned into a whole other person, a whole different man, okay. Made many decisions in the resurrection section, okay. I made many different decisions. I improved my credit. I got better jobs. I got investments. We got a house. I finally, for the first time in my life, had a credit score. I had some savings, yada, yada, yada. For me, resurrection, all of those things occurred in the resurrection, okay? And then we move into step number 12, the return with the elixir, the potion, right? Return with the elixir, or return with a newfounded understanding, a light bulb moment, knowledge, experience, life experience, mastering of a problem, okay? That was the return with the elixir for me that started off with my first book. It brought me to write and co-write 2 other books. I did some public speaking on my book and on my life experiences. I started and launched a podcast on mental health and veterans, because that's something I wanted to speak about, wanted to talk about. And last but not least, went through all the training and all the certifications to become a certified master life coach, and to help other people, teach other people ways, tools, techniques, and tips to have a better life, and to have a stronger little guy or little gal by your side, and to just be a happier person, okay? And so that's where I'm at. That's my return. And my elixir is my knowledge, my coaching, my mentoring, and my life experience. And I've been told that it seems like I've lived 50 lives in one. There's so many things I haven't told you, but it does seem that way sometimes, that I've lived many lives. But the one life that I've went through, my hero's journey was filled with all of these 12 steps. And my hero's journey did bring me to a place of understanding, and a place of service, and a place of knowledge and life experience, okay? So that is my hero's journey. And as we go to the next step, I hope that you followed along with me through all 12 steps of the hero's journey. And real quick, let me ask you this. Right now, are you living in an ordinary life? If so, what does that look like to you? Describe to yourself your ordinary life, okay? Ask yourself, what is your call to adventure, okay? Are you going to refuse the call? And if so, why are you going to refuse it? Are you going to meet a coach or a mentor, someone to help you start the change, start the process? What threshold are you going to cross? What threshold are you going to be faced with that's going to start your commitment to change? What is that going to be for you? Okay. And prepare yourself. What tests are you going to have to pass? What allies are you going to have to associate with? And what enemies are you going to have to defeat? Been there, done that, okay? Your innermost cave, what will occur to really start major changes for you in your life? What is that going to be? What is that going to look like, okay? All of these steps do connect to your life story. Rewriting, redoing your life story. When you rewrite your life story, all 12 steps of the hero's journey is going to be part of your script, your screenplay, and your new story, okay? And you decide what goes in these 12 steps and what happens and what doesn't happen. Okay. Very important to keep that in mind. Okay. The ordeal, death, and rebirth, you're going to have those in your journey, in your life story. The question is how do you prepare yourself to deal with the death and with the rebirth, or with the ordeal? Because it's probably going to be scary. It's going to be hard, but prepare yourself for it, and you'll make it. Okay. Right around the corner after that is your reward. Envision, think about, what is that reward going to look like? What do you want the reward to be? And get ready to go back. Get ready to go back to your past, relationships, parents, brothers and sisters, coworkers. Get ready to go back and share with them somebody new, like I did with my siblings when I went back to my family reunion. Be willing to go back and to be proud of the changes you've made and show them the new you, your new story, okay, when you go back. And last but not least, the resurrection. Final attempts, last minute dangers, but the resurrection, what changes do you want to see happen in the resurrection, in the new you? Okay. It says, last minute dangers, final, the final, well, it's the second to the last step, but in your resurrection, okay, what's going to take place? Are you going to push on through it? Or are you going to go backwards to step 10 or step 8 or step 6? Make the resurrection the most powerful thing in your life. And now that you've showed people, you've went back on the road and you showed them a different you, make your resurrection count for something. Embrace all the learning, embrace your goals and dreams, and be ready. Be ready to return with your elixir, with a knowledge, with a different perspective. Ask yourself, when you return with the elixir, who are you going to serve? What are you going to share with them? How are you going to share your new perspective, the new you? How are you going to share that with others? And what are you going to provide to people? Tell your story. Let your story be inspirational to other people. Let your story help other people on their journey. Okay, and go forward with a whole new life, a whole new life story that you have rewritten and you've did a redo on. Okay, new life, and now you have a outline of your hero's journey, and it ends with mastering what you perceive to be a problem is no longer a problem, and you are stronger, happier. Your little guy, little gal is protected. They're happy. You're working on your dreams and goals, and you're helping other people because you have went through something that they may or may not have went through, and you have something to offer, and that is you and your new life. Okay, so I'm going to take the chart down, the hero's journey, and this video is all about your journey. Okay, I'm sorry it's a little bit longer video, but it's all about your journey. I gave you my journey, so to help you relate, maybe understand how the different 12 steps actually play out in real world. And now the graphic is down, and we're back to we're back to the main picture of the video. And so I hope you enjoyed that information, and I hope you were inspired. I really hope you were inspired to start your hero's journey tie it together, marry it, marry it up with, get married with your life story and your hero's journey, because they're one and the same, okay? And one is a part of the other, and together it is a powerful combination for a powerful person, and that's you, powerful person. So that's about it for this video. Sorry it's so long, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out the playlist in the upper right-hand corner. The Black and White Life Coaching playlist. Check it out. It may have already popped up, or it's popping up now, but it'll be in the upper right-hand corner, the Black and White playlist. Check out the playlist. Go back and check out the previous video, Life Story, and watching that one along with today's video is going to be very powerful, and hopefully you get so much out of it. I really hope so. So I'll wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, love your little me. They need you more than you can imagine. I want you to take care of yourself. Rewrite your life story. Begin your hero's journey. Comment down below in the comments. Let me know how things are going. And I'll be back on Wednesday with a coming soon video, and next Sunday with another video to follow up with today's hero's journey. So take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye.